Hi, I'm going to do this is my very first Board Game Geek. Um, well, I don't know if I want to call it a game review, but I'm going to do what they call the out-of-the-box um, reviews, where I basically open it, look at it, give you my first impressions. I have no idea how the sound quality is going to be. I don't even know if it's recording, but we'll give it a shot. So I have here Roads Through Rome. It is Action Pack number 8, 8th in the Action Pack series. The Action Pack started probably about 15 years ago with Action Pack number 1, where they decided this is how they were going to release a lot of their new boards with new scenarios. So, this is the just the credits on the back side of that. It's another Gary Fortenberry design. He was very Gary was very active in Action Pack number 7. There's a blank piece of paper, nothing exciting there. We got 1, 2, 3 maps. Back cover. The back cover has the descriptions, and there's nothing else on the back cover piece. So let's see, we got boards. And Gary designed the original kind of, I don't know what you want to call them, rectangular shaped boards, unusual shaped boards, wide boards. I guess most people call them wide boards. So here's board 6A, and as you know, 6B. These are the only ones that are back printed. It's on thin cardboard stock. So we got a nice river. We got a couple of nice river boards here. I had asked Gary, I don't know if you noticed this, or if this has ever been a problem for you, but if you look at the river boards, you'll see that the level 0 leaches into the river. That creates all kinds of headaches for a line of sight. And I asked Gary about this a couple of years ago when he was designing these. I said, are they ever going to fix this? And he says, no, it's a legacy issue. We're going to have to live with it. So that's that. Board 5A, mountains. 5B, more mountains. Nice little villages in there. You see the villages. This is the first time I've looked at it. This is fresh out of the shrink wrap. I've never seen this before. I live up in the woods and I don't see anybody. Board 4A. Fairly open board, small hill, lots of wheat fields there. Board 4B. Same thing. I noticed that we have water towers on each of these boards. I believe the rules are already in place for that. It's just that water tower right there. But and I saved the scenarios for last because that's always my favorite. That's always where I do the oohing and ahhing. I'm not so big. I don't get excited about boards like people do. They're like, oh, look at the new boards. Oh, look at the, It's like, well, that's woods, road, stone building. I don't know. I don't see it the way that other people do. And not being able to visualize the board in a three-dimensional sense is, of course, one of my failings as an ASL player. And it's one of the things that's keeping me from being one of the greats, as it is on one of the okays and one of the goods, but not one of the greats. All right, so we're starting with scenario 73, Happy Valley. This is a Tunisia battle. I always liked Tunisia, the Italians versus the early war Americans. It's back when the Axis kind of had a chance to do something, to fight on a somewhat equal footing against the Americans. Armored vehicles, cactus patches. I didn't know they had cactus in Tunisia, but apparently they do. Number 74, Batty P. It's another Italy scenario. It's the Italy scenario. Apparently that's part of the pack, is the Italy thing, the whole Italy theme. I'm assuming that now that I'm reading these. So British against Germans. This is September 43, so we're past Sicily. Sicily's already done. And since they do these typically the new way is chronological order by number, I'm not expecting to see any Sicily scenarios. 75. Gabriel's Horn. This is another Italy scenario, Americans and Germans. Germans have some armored support. Germans look like they're on the attack on this one. 76, smoke 'em. This is Italy again, September 43. So September 43 is about the time of the Salerno landing, etc. So this is real early in the Italian campaign. Once again, one of my favorite years for ASL is 1942, late 42, mid 43, where the Axis were still fighting on a somewhat equal footing with the Allies. It wasn't quite the one-sided affair that late war seems to be. It almost feels darker when you're playing late war. Americans versus Germans, combined arms on both sides. Both sides have a lot of tank assets. The Germans have your typical Panzer IVs, lots of half-tracks. I'm going to go through them quick because, I don't want to bore everybody, and you're sitting there, especially with slow internet connections, you're sitting there waiting for these things to download. This looks like this is the big scenario for the packet. It uses 6 boards, and 2 of them are the big wide boards that Gary designed. This scenario is designed by Gary Fortenberry as well. I don't know if he designed them all. I see his name on just about everything here. He's been busy guy. I don't know how many of you old timers remember the A-Slug magazine, but A-Slug was a Gary Fortenberry production. He also wrote most of the ASL Annual in 1995, and he was I think he was the big proofreader when Camp Group Piper came out. So he was very active in the mid 90s with Avalon Hill. Now he's very busy with MMP, as we see. So another Italy scenario. This is very big. Americans have a lot of stuff. It's very vague, I know. Tanks, assault guns, artillery pieces, lots of squads. Looks like 30 squads at a glance. Look at this. Let me digress for a moment. I don't know how many of you have heard of the Australian balancing system. It's an excellent system for balancing scenarios. Instead of just giving you one way to fix a scenario, say, well, we both think this one's pro-German, so we'll give you the Americans with the balance. This has this has 6 different levels of balance, 3 for each side. And a lot of tournaments use Australian balancing. So there's Australian balancing listed for every scenario. I didn't know they were doing this. I'm very happy that MMP is into the Australian balancing. I would always hope that would be the trend for the future, and then to see a lot of scenarios come out without it, I was like, But now, voila, we have it. So thank you, MMP, and thank you, Gary. The Australian balancing system is explained in detail here. Australian balancing, first time I saw it was around 1999, maybe 1998, 1999. There was a lot of scenarios from Australia that came out with it. Here's the other piece of 77, which has the German order of battle and all the scenario special rules, which I'm not going to go through. It's your standard stuff, Panzer IVs, etc. Number 78 is Acerno, Italy, designed by Gary Fortenberry. Germans and Americans slugging it out. Americans on the attack with tanks and mortars. Germans on the defense with half-tracks and infantry. It's a 3-board scenario. Number 79, Rude Mood. Number 79 is Germans, and I don't recognize the symbol. I think this is kind of like one of the British colonial troops. It says Chasseurs d'Afrique. So I don't know. Maybe I'll read the stuff here. I'll just give me a minute to read this. The Allied effort to breach the German line, blah blah blah. General Juin commanding the Free French. All right, that's the Free French symbol. So it's Free French versus the Germans. We're into May of '44, so we've advanced quite a bit. This is around, I think that's around the time of the Battle of Cassino. This is before the fall of Rome. Anzio is ongoing. All right, nice Free French there. A Bloody Waste, number 80. And let's see, that's the Germans and the Americans. The Germans have a lot of assault guns and, you know, they're unusual kind of half-track vehicles. And Americans have tank destroyers and tanks, a lot of them, 10 vehicles and 14 squads coming in. It's a good sized, meaty scenario. Number 81. Number 81 is the Lost Highway. This is a huge scenario. It's lots of squads, lots of vehicles on the American side. Not a whole lot of. Oh yeah, the Germans have a lot of armor. And you know, the standard. This is up to June of '44. This is 5 June '44. So this is on the outskirts of Rome. Appropriately, that's about the right time for that. And the let's see the Germans are all dug in. There's nothing exciting in the way of armored vehicles, as there shouldn't be for the Germans. I mean, you know, it's mostly Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs, which it should be about this time of the war. Number 82, the very last scenario, brings us into September of '44. So this is after D-Day, after the fall of Rome. Yeah, there's a couple of things that didn't make the newspapers because of D-Day. The fall of Rome was one, and the fall of Saipan was the other. So June '44 was a bad month for the Axis, including the destruction of Army Group Center. So here we're on into September. This is after the fall of Rome, and I forget which line they're running into at this point, but the Germans had a series of lines heading up the Italian peninsula. So this is, I'm sure you're running into one of those lines, and this is the Canadians against the Germans, and it looks like it has a variable end on this, like we don't know when it's going to end. And I don't know how that's figured in, because I'm not going to sit here and read the whole thing right now. But, you know, a couple of these scenarios look pretty interesting, and I'll be putting them on my playlist pretty soon. So I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time, if I get enough thumbs. If I don't get any thumbs, I'm probably not going to do this again.